spoken quite a bit about football stadiums. Tottenham, obviously one of the more, up-to-date and spectacular ones. They have now been granted planning permission to host 30 major non-football events per calendar year. You spoke about how that's kind of been a financial boost potentially for Atletico Madrid. Manchester United are potentially looking at that with Old Trafford, keeping that around. What kind of financial boost could we see for that at Tottenham?
Look, it's great for Spurs, certainly. I know that there are a lot of actual wrinkles in that 30 events, that you can't have more than, I think, 4 days in a row, and there's only certain types of events that can happen. So there is a lot of detail that has to be looked at in the small print about how that can manifest itself. But nevertheless, those can become 30 big nights of revenue. And that makes a stadium very cost effective when it starts to produce that sort of non-football revenue. It was always the plan from Daniel Levy to do that with the stadium. It is a big multi-use stadium. I've always said Everton's new stadium will be a great football stadium without quite the same sort of multi-use facilities that Spurs have got. But there's no doubt in London there's a need and an appetite for the big events. I know that they've got to give away, I think it was 100 tickets to local people for each event, which won't dent the revenues, but it's something they've got to do as a good local partner in the neighbourhood. But yes, look, it's a big step forward for Spurs. It's part of the ambition. It's also part of the way that we're going to pay the debt back for the stadium. And so I think, once again, Spurs have been proven to be very astute commercially. And I think this new stadium, now it's built and moving forward, I think they're over the hump now, and it's really a very positive move for them. But 30 events is going to mean it's going to become a big hub. If only they could improve the transportation links, which everybody curses about with Spurs since day one, for many years since I've been going there. It's just a nightmare to get to on the tube and by road. If there was some way to try and do that, that would make it even more important.
Most definitely. The few times I've been there, it's been an absolute nightmare getting out of there. Just like 2 or 3 times as long as it should be, trying to get out of there, either on the tube or whichever way you'd like to get home. You speak about debts and Daniel Levy being quite savvy. Is there any update on the potential takeover we heard about, selling a percentage of the team that we heard about? Obviously, those debts from the stadium still are quite large.
Look, I've dealt with Daniel on a few player transfers, and with the issue about minority stake in Spurs. Spurs have been speaking to potential investors now for as long as I can remember. Certainly the last 5 years it's stepped up. Many of the world's big investors have had those conversations, and nothing has come of it yet. I do believe that 15% of the club will go to somebody coming up fairly soon. I don't know who it will be. Spurs will be very clever as to which strategic partner they choose, because they'll want more than just the money. They'll want somebody that can bring something else extra. And as I've just said, I think now with all these events going on, the bottom line of that investment will be worthwhile. But the thing is, Daniel will also want top dollar for that 15%. And that's always been the issue over the last few years. Every time you get close to a settlement and negotiation, his price goes up. And that's just the way it is. But listen, he's a great negotiator. But I do think they're going to need to bring in somebody as a strategic investor. The question is who, and the fit is going to be the most important thing. It isn't just going to be about the cash. It's going to be about who can bring something plus cash, because it is a great asset. And, there'll be negotiations also around, will they have first right of refusal to buy more shares with things going forward? So, could there be a negotiation going on about potential future owners of Spurs? All these things are part of a very complex mix just now, but I do expect the 15% to be sold. And I'm not sure exactly when, but within the next 3 or 4 months is what I would expect to see some sort of settlement on that.
Wow. Exciting news potentially for Tottenham fans, especially if it, as you said, is someone who brings a little bit more than just cash to the club.